Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to this session. We'll just wait while we have all of you join. So welcome, good morning first of all. Thanks so much for joining this third mission project seminar with the EU mission on adaptation to climate change. My name is Yara. I'm going to be facilitating this session together with my colleagues Jimena and a few other people who are on this call, so you'll meet us as we go on. If you have any kind of general sound issues or problems, please pop a message in the Zoom chat and we'll be monitoring that. So just to say welcome, if we can go to the first slide, please, Jenny. So today we're going to be doing this third mission project seminar, and the main goal of this is to introduce new projects who have joined the mission. We want to explain to you a bit what the EU mission community of practice is, how you can get involved in different thematic working groups, and what you kind of can expect from being part of this community. So welcome to all the new projects, and we hope this is an interesting and useful session for you. So if we can have the agenda, please. Yeah, so I'm just going to do a few intros. We'll explain what we're doing today. And then we are lucky to have some welcoming words from the EU mission and from CINEA. So we will be hearing from Frederic Acco and Federico Porra. Jimena is then going to explain, as I mentioned, the community of practice, how that works for projects and what you can expect. I'm then going to talk a bit about our thematic working groups and explain what we've been doing so far with them, what themes they include, and how you can get involved. And then really exciting as well, we have Sam Granger from one of our thematic working groups, from the climate services one specifically. And we invited Sam, who kindly agreed to come to just tell us a bit about what it's like from a project perspective being part of these thematic working groups and what the experience has been like, what they've learned, and also to answer any questions for new people joining. We will then have a Q&A session with a Slido link, which I will share in a minute. So you can ask us any questions about the material that we've presented and the community of practice. And then we will have a networking session. So as you saw when you signed up, I think you had the chance of selecting some themes. We will give you the chance later on to join different breakout rooms, depending on what you are most interested in. And then in each of those breakout rooms, you will have a chance to meet other projects, other practitioners and academics who are working on projects, depending on the theme, and just chat about what you're doing and what your project aims are. So hopefully that will be useful again to try and start meeting people and working together in this community of practice. So that's what we're doing today. Can I just check with my colleagues if we go to our welcoming words, or do we go to Jimena first?
We are checking. Frederic is having some issues connecting, and Federico as well. So
okay, so I'll do the housekeeping and then we'll go to Jimena, and then we can come back to our welcoming remarks. Great. Okay, so as you've noticed, we are using English as our working language. As I mentioned, any issues, please use the Zoom. But for any questions, we will share a Slido link in the next slide. So that will be what we will be using for our Q&A later on. And as usual, please keep yourself muted. And if you do participate at any point, then it's nice always if you turn your camera on. The meeting is being recorded, and we will share at the end information on how you will receive this recording as well, in case you want to share it with colleagues or watch it back. So please can we have the next slide? And this is where there's Slido information. So somebody will put in the Zoom chat the link, so you can copy that into your URL, or you can also take a picture of the QR with your phone. And this will be where we will be monitoring questions throughout the session. So if you have a specific question early on, you can always say question for Yara, for Jimena, for Federico, and we will come back to them later at the Q&A session towards the end. So I think that's it from me.
Perfect. So we have Karsten Goders from CINEA on behalf of Frederic. So Karsten.
Hello.
Great.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm not Karsten, but I'm Frederic Acco. But for some reason, I'm logged in as Karsten, my colleague. But I can do the welcome on behalf of CINEA. So thank you all for joining this this webinar, which is the third webinar with the goal to welcome new projects to the mission community of practice. So I'm head of sector in CINEA, the Climate Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency. As you know, we manage the mission on adaptation, and we are responsible for the entire project life cycle. So we manage the calls, we run the evaluations, prepare the grants, and also monitor the projects which are funded under the mission adaptation. In addition to that, we also manage part of the cluster 5 on climate science, which is focused on the mitigation adaptation parts. And in our agency, we also manage the LIFE program, which has a part on adaptation. So we manage a very broad portfolio, and we are very happy to also welcome, of course, the new projects from the last mission adaptation call from 24. So we have recently signed 17 new grants for these projects, and some of these have already started. I understand we also have some projects which are new to the community from LIFE, from other projects. So very warm welcome to those as well. So, I mean, we have now about 46 mission projects ongoing. With the 70 new ones, we will reach a very large community. Of course, projects have their individual objectives as they were applying for individual topics, which is, of course, the primary goal of projects to achieve these. But of course, the key message I want to pass is that all mission projects are expected to contribute to the overall objectives of the mission. And this will most likely, I think, be explained a bit more by my colleague Federico Porra from DG RTD. But I mean, I would like to strongly encourage all projects to really engage and to actively contribute to the community of practice, to participate in the thematic working groups, and to benefit from this event, to learn what these activities are. And with this, I would like to, well, wish you a very fruitful and successful event. I would like to pass the floor to Federico if he's in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you. And yeah, very good words of encouragement for the new projects there. So thanks very much for that. I don't know if we have Federico on the line. If not, we will come back to him later, hopefully. Federico, I think you're not on the call. So maybe we can go to Jimena and talk a bit about this community of practice that was just mentioned, and then we'll come back to Federico perhaps at the end. Thanks, Jimena.
Thank you so much, Yara. And thank you, Frederick, for those opening remarks. Now we're going to dive into this community of practice and what it is. But first, if we go to the next slide, please, Jenny. Thank you. As you all know, the mission adaptation is focused on supporting regions, cities, and local authorities in their efforts to build resilience. It plays a crucial role in implementing the EU strategy by helping regions better understand the climate risk that they face and develop pathways to enhance preparedness and test and deploy innovative solutions on the ground to strengthen resilience. The mission's main objective is to guide by 2030 at least 150 European regions and communities towards climate resilience. And the mission is all of us working on adaptation. And this mission's community of practice is what we are going to talk today. So in the next slide, you will see the aims of the mission adaptation community of practice, that is to facilitate the exchange of knowledge and experience and to strengthen coordination and collaboration among participants. And who are these participants? These participants are a wide range of different actors like churches signatures, EU-funded projects like you that are focusing on climate change adaptation, also regions and local authorities that are involved in your implementation, the European Commission and other relevant European institutions, national contact points, and of course, the Friends of the Mission. To achieve these goals that you can see on the screen, your participation and engagement is crucial. So how can you get involved? In the next slide, we will see the different ways that you can get involved. So on the one hand, we have the Community of Practice online site that is hosted on Futurium, and you can see it on the right side of the slide. My colleague Alan will paste the link so that you can register to the community of practice and there stay connected, share your events, share news, share outputs that you have. So in that community of practice, it's a live one and you can interact among each other. We also have what we call nodes. These nodes that you will see on the left side of the screen are specific spaces for different actors that I presented in the previous slides, right? So each of these nodes target some of this audience. So in your case, the Research and Innovation node is the space for you, for all EU-funded projects from various programs working on adaptation. And those EU-funded projects, we call them mission projects. That's why you see it there on the screen. The other nodes, the interregional node, targets regions and local authorities, and the EU-level node is where the practice and knowledge from the interregional node and from the Research and Innovation node links with policy. So all this is here for all the members. And we are going now to dive deep into the Research and Innovation node that targets directly you, EU-funded projects. So if we move to the next slide, thank you. We will show you specific activities that you can engage in this Research and Innovation node. So first, there are certain events that are targeted to you. For instance, this one. This one is specifically for all the new projects or from the mission, from the adaptation mission, from LIFE, from Interreg. So all the projects that are working on adaptation and just started or already started and now found out about the community of practice, you can join the community of practice and this event is for you. Then we have thematic dialogues, that is for capacity building on topics of your interest. And the next one will be in the second semester of this year. And the synergy workshop that focus on matchmaking on topics of, again, the project's interest in order to enhance collaboration. So all this is there for you, plus a mission project survey and database that we will dive deep in the next slide. This mission project and database is a way that you have to be able to connect among each other. In this QR code that you see on the screen and also the link that will be shared with you on the chat, you will be able to access the survey and answer some questions. It will take 10 to 15 minutes. It's not very long. And this will help all of us understand the themes, areas, methods, and tools that all the projects are working on. On the screen, you can see the ones that have already submitted their answers and can be found in the database and other mission products outputs. So this survey is critical for two reasons. First, to facilitate collaboration and communication across the mission portfolio. Second, to provide important information so that your projects contribute to the wider mission and is captured and presented as such. So data provided fits into different mission products and outputs as I just mentioned. And in the next slide, you will be able to see those mission products or outputs. So first, a public-facing interactive dashboard that showcases information for all mission projects in a user-friendly format. Then a mission project catalog, a comprehensive overview of all the mission-funded projects, providing information on thematic areas and risks covered, and also regions and local authorities that the project is engaged with. Then the mission barometer. This 6-monthly update report details how the mission progress against its objectives, of which data from mission project is an important aspect of this report. So when you complete the project survey, you directly contribute to how the mission is understood, communicated, and evaluated. Again, it only takes 10 to 15 minutes to answer the survey. Me4Adapts updates the database with the answers from the survey every month. And also, if you answer it now and then in a few weeks or months, you need to update it, you can send the update through the help desk, and we can update it as well. So moving on, some more activities that you can utilize from the community of practice. First, you can enhance your dissemination of your events, of your outputs. As I was saying before, you can upload things on the community of practice side, but also you can utilize the mission's newsletter and the mission's communication toolkit. In this toolkit, you will find several materials, logos, and other missions communication materials to increase your visibility and help frame your projects as part of the broader mission. So you will be able to see yourself and to also promote yourself to others as key contributors to the mission's collaborative impact. And then, as Yara already mentioned, we have the thematic working groups. What are these groups? So the thematic working groups are a space to dive deeper on topics of interest and enhance cooperation and collaboration among projects working on those themes. We currently have 6 thematic working groups that I will not dive into each specific because Yara will speak a bit more about this. But we have finance, climate action, citizen and stakeholder engagement, climate service, integrating mitigation and adaptation, monitoring and evaluation, transformation and adaptation. Also, the nature-based solution aspect that is very important for the EU mission adaptation, it takes place under the existing task forces organized by Network Nature Plus. This is a key collaboration for us so that we can really synergize and work together. This network brings together the nature-based solutions research and innovation community and creates opportunities for local, regional, and international cooperation to maximize the impact and spread nature-based solutions. So that being said, I will give the floor back to Yara so that she can continue with these thematic working groups.
Great, thanks, Jimena. So yeah, I'm just going to talk a bit more about the thematic working groups and what we've done so far. So as Jimena was mentioning, the thematic working groups are a cornerstone of how we collaborate between projects, bringing together experts in the different EU-funded projects that we have within the mission. And if we could have the next slide, please. Just a bit of an overview of what we've been doing so far with the thematic working groups and the timeline. So they've been running now for, almost 2 years. They were kind of launched during the first Synergy workshop, which is one of the events that Jimena was mentioning, where we bring together people to kind of tell us what their different interests are. And these different themes were chosen. And then throughout kind of 2023, 2024, through facilitators and also project champions in each group, the thematic working groups have been deciding what they want to focus on. So what's of interest in each thematic working group, what the projects think is a valuable kind of collaboration to work towards or a question to answer. And there's been, we normally have monthly meetings. I facilitate one of them myself. And this culminated in the thematic working group presentation, which we had in May, a month and a half ago, where the thematic working groups presented their outputs to the community of practice, which was a really great event where the groups could all come together and also showcase what they've been working on for the past year or so. We've also got coming up the third Synergy workshop in September, where again, we will be discussing how to continue these collaborations and this work within thematic working groups throughout the duration of the mission. And I just put there the ECHA logo as well, just to highlight that one of the outputs of this kind of work within groups is that we've brought people together and projects together, and this has resulted in dissemination activities and collaborations, for example, presenting sessions at the European Climate Change Adaptation Conference. So that was really good to see. And we're very pleased with how these groups are working in terms of bringing people together and leading to collaborations and disseminating the work that everybody's doing in the different projects. So that's just a bit of the overview. And now I'm going to go through each thematic working group kind of quickly, but just to give you an overview of what each group has been working on. So if we can have the next slide, please. So the first group that I'll be talking about is climate services. And so the objectives of this thematic working group are to share experiences on the use of climate services across different projects, foster use, replicability, and upscale climate services that are being developed across the different projects, learning from each other. This is something that all the thematic working groups obviously want to do, share findings, share synergies, and explore how to build standardized views and working practices. You can see on the right there, the thematic working groups have lots of projects in them. These are some of the most active projects recently. And just to highlight that we do have projects kind of coming and going in the thematic working group. So we're really hoping that we meet some new projects today that also want to join one of them. And one of the key outputs that will be coming soon from this thematic working group is a policy brief, which will be providing guidance on how to use and scale climate services to improve early warnings, decision-making, and locally tailored adaptation action. And this thematic working group specifically is also working on a peer-reviewed publication, which has just been submitted to a journal, and so we hope that will be published in the next, however long the review process takes. So that's a bit of an overview of climate services. If we can have the next slide, please. This is Citizen and Stakeholder Engagement Thematic Working Group, which I facilitate. And again, we have over 30 projects involved. These are some of the logos. We haven't put them all here, but some of the ones that have been most involved recently. We've added a QR there as well, so please take a look at that if you want to see our output. And just to say, the objectives of this thematic working group, as with all of them, were very bottom up and were decided by the project. And in this case, it was all about reducing duplication of effort and trying to improve how we give information to regional and local authorities related to citizen and stakeholder engagement methodologies. So how are we learning from projects, how projects are engaging citizens in climate adaptation? Can we reduce and kind of share efforts and platforms, and how do we then communicate that to regional and local authorities? So those tools and those lessons learned have been put into a briefing note, which I've put on the screen there. So please do have a look if you're interested, and share it with authorities or municipalities that you might be working with. And this is also one of the thematic working groups which participated in the ECHO conference, hosting a workshop. So we had one of the projects from the group act as the facilitator. And again, this was a session that we organised all about co-learning approaches and sharing knowledge on how to engage people in climate adaptation. So next slide, please. Financing climate action. Again, we've put some of the key players, key projects that have been involved there on the screen. The objectives of this thematic working group are to create opportunities to work together, and also, as with the previous one, generate outputs that can be useful for regions and local authorities. So thinking about, within the topic of financing climate action, what have the different projects learned and what can they bring to the table? Things like public-private collaborations. Sharing data is a big topic for this thematic working group. Sharing learning and collating learning on different financing options for nature-based solutions, and how to engage the private sector and insurance companies. And so one of the key outputs will be a best practices database. So this is a big database that they are working on together with Climate Fit database, which already exists and is part of the P2R catalogue. P2R is Pathways to Resilience project, in case you don't know. So it's been really useful for the thematic working group to work together to integrate this Climate Fit database with the P2R catalogue, so that again, we're kind of sharing our efforts and building on each other's work. There will also be a report coming soon on resilience financing and public-private partnerships. And again, there was also participation at the ECHO and also the EU Green Week last year. So all of these outputs will be available on Futurium. We'll share a link at the end of today's session. The previous ones are already published, but the ones that are coming soon, we can also direct you to where those will be hosted in the next kind of couple of months. So next slide, please. So this one is about integrating mitigation and adaptation. Again, there's also an output that's available now, so have a look at the QR. And I think somebody's putting them in the Zoom chat as well, so thanks for that. The objectives of this thematic working group are to, as it says on the title, improve integration between mitigation work and adaptation work for climate change. And they have been very active in organising workshops and bringing together cities from across Europe to discuss how municipalities and regions can actively integrate their mitigation work and their adaptation work. So their work has been outlining how you can link mitigation and adaptation at different scales, the importance of strategic coordination, and mitigation and adaptation not only if you don't coordinate, you miss valuable opportunities, but can also lead to maladaptation options. So I think they have a big focus on kind of avoiding maladaptation and how integration can support that. Mainstreaming climate mitigation and adaptation, and the importance of doing this across all governance levels and supporting regions to understand how to do that. And then also they've been looking at sustained and long-term EU level integration and financing to really focus on this integration of mitigation and adaptation work and build that into financing mechanism and building it into upcoming calls through Mission, Horizon, etc. So some recommendations there on how to continue this work and that funding is necessary to do this. So the key output is a position paper which outlines some of these things in more detail, so the gaps and the opportunities for better integration of mitigation and adaptation action. So have a look at that if you are interested. And I think we have two more. So the next one is on monitoring and evaluation. Again, we've put some of the key projects on the screen. And the objectives of this thematic working group have been to support future adaptation monitoring initiatives and provide practical recommendations and frameworks across the mission community of practice. So looking at global frameworks and local needs to improve monitoring and evaluation practice, identifying data availability and accessing regional data that can support monitoring and evaluation of research agendas and projects, including different disciplines in monitoring and evaluation and reinforcing stakeholder engagement. And the next steps that this group is going to be looking at is how to integrate digital technologies into monitoring and strengthening knowledge across borders, allowing replication of monitoring practices in different socioeconomic and climatic conditions. So if that sounds interesting to you, that's the kind of next steps of this thematic working group. And it would be great if you want to join. And if you want to look at what they've been working on so far, again, we put the link there and the QR for the output on Futurium, which is a report on insights on monitoring climate adaptation activities, deriving lessons learned from monitoring adaptation activities in projects under the EU mission on adaptation. So next, and I think final thematic working group is transformational adaptation. We have 13 institutions, 8 Horizon Europe projects that are involved. And the objectives of this thematic working group is to accelerate system-wide, long-term and inclusive approaches which address the root causes of climate vulnerability, which move beyond incremental change and which promote shared understanding and practical tools for transformational adaptation across Europe. So some of the main activities that they've been working on is to co-develop a shared vision and a practical framework for transformational adaptation, which all of the projects have agreed on. Identify drivers, examples and pathways of transformational adaptation. So this is looking at some of the things that each project has been working on and sharing those learnings across the group, and developing and testing tools to support regions in assessing, designing and evaluating how transformational adaptation action can take place. And we also have an output to share, which is a policy brief, understanding transformational adaptation, a shared vision. This is a really good output if you want to share with people who might not be engaged in this kind of work or have not been aware of transformational adaptation as a concept and what that really means. So it's a great introduction to the concept. So I think that is all of the thematic working groups that we have at the moment and that we are going to continue working with over the next year or so. So we have an opportunity here. If any of them sound interesting to you, please join. You can join more than one thematic working group. Often projects assign different work package leaders or different people in the project to join different ones depending on their interests and what they can gain from them. So there will be a link in the Zoom for you to input which project you would like to join, which thematic working group you would like to join, and you can also use the QR code there. So we'll leave that up for a second. Please remember to ask any questions on the Slido as well that we shared earlier about the thematic working groups, and we'll be happy to come back to that later. So great, if we can now give the floor to Sam. So Sam is one of the projects in the Climatic Services Thematic Working Group, which was the first one that I mentioned a little while ago. And Sam is just going to talk a bit about his experience being part of the group and how that's been and what you can expect from joining a thematic working group. So Sam, floor is yours, and if you can have the next slide, please.
That's great. Yeah, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. If you could just go to the next slide, that would be great. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm delighted to contribute to today's session on behalf of the Thematic Working Group on Climate Services. As has already been said, this group was set up to foster collaboration between mission projects working in different contexts, but facing similar challenges in using, scaling, and improving climate services. So first of all, for those maybe who aren't familiar with the term, we're essentially talking about providing information, climate information for particularly climate sensitive decision making, and the ways in which you might do that. So we've set ourselves 4 main objectives within this working group. First, to share practical experiences from our projects, what's working, what's not, and what we're learning. Second, to support the replication and upscaling of climate services where they add value. Third, to exchange knowledge and identify synergies across projects, especially where our work complement each other. And then finally, to explore the idea of standardization, which is really the main topic of our project, Climate Europe 2. Not in a really kind of rigid, boring sense, but in terms of kind of shared principles, good practices that could feed into future standardization processes. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah. So the group is championed by the project that I'm co-coordinating, Climate Europe 2 and Valorada, and now includes 87 participants from 39 projects, which shows how much interest and relevance this project has across the mission portfolio. We've held over 20 meetings since late 2023, and although we're still early in the journey, we've already seen the value of structured collaboration. One major milestone for the group has been the co-development of a perspective article that was recently showcased at ECHA. Next slide, please. So from my perspective, coming from a Horizon Europe project focused on the standardization of climate services, joining this group felt important for a few reasons. First, there's a clear push from the EU to grow and professionalize the climate services field. But on the ground, many of us still grapple with fragmented practices and limited uptake. So the group is a space to really step back and learn from others, to compare how different teams are approaching similar goals, and to co-create outputs like policy briefs or guidelines or papers that can strengthen our collective impact. Next slide, please. Okay, so one concrete example is a cross-project survey where we co-designed to explore how different mission projects understand and approach upscaling. This actually surfaced a lot of variation across projects, not just in definitions, but in strategic approaches and even underlying assumptions about what climate services are. Another highlight for me has been working on the perspective article with over 15 co-authors. There's been really a lot of very deep discussion, and that's been really, really impressive, grappling with terminology, concepts, and the limits of different upscaling pathways and approaches. I'm also contributing to shaping a policy brief on standardization. Currently, we're debating how ambitious it should be, whether to offer a big picture vision or focus on more concrete, actionable steps. Next slide, please. One of the most valuable outcomes for me has been the relationship built across projects. Even though we don't collaborate directly day to day, these discussions have given me new insights and a better sense of who's doing what and how we might align or support each other. It's also helped me identify cross-cutting themes that are critical to the mission's goals, like the importance of governance, co-production, and long-term usability in scaling climate services. And then finally, more broadly, the group is helping to build a community of practice that connects both practitioners and researchers, hopefully in the long term. And next slide, please. This is the final one, I think. Yep. So finally, this group adds real value to our own project implementation. So for example, the policy brief we're working on will represent a more balanced and multi-perspective view of what it takes to scale and standardize climate services across contexts. And that's something our individual project wouldn't be able to do alone. By contributing to shared outputs like this, we also boost the credibility, relevance, and potential uptake of our own work. So to sum up, these thematic groups are not just about exchanging ideas. It's really a way of multiplying impact, strengthening connections, and speaking with a more coordinated voice across the mission community. And it goes without saying, hopefully from what I've said today, that I therefore really encourage other projects to really get involved. Okay, that's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. That was great. And hopefully maybe you can stick around for a bit for the Q&A session in case anyone has any more questions.
No
so
problem.
Yeah, really great to hear from Sam. Thanks a lot. And we now have a chance for questions about anything that we have presented so far. the community of practice, what it is, how it works, more questions about the thematic working groups or how you can join. So please do use the Slido link that we shared earlier, and I'll have a look there for now if there are any questions. So we have a question about if any of the thematic working groups are currently addressing fair climate data management or data management in particular. So I don't know whether Sam wants to say something about this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, very much so. In the context of climate services, we have a work package looking at data and processes within climate services, and one of the aspects of that is to do with data management, metadata techniques, and different types of trying to look into all the different guidelines and the standards out there when it comes to things like FAIR principles and data management. So yeah, we have a whole team of people very much looking at that area in the context of this sort of trying to provide recommendations for the standardization of climate services.
Brilliant. I don't know, Christine, who asked the question, if you want to ask anything or make a comment for Sam while you're here.
Yeah, thanks for the great information, Sam. If it's possible, I would really like to get into contact, and because we are working in a new project, Fair to Adapt, on the verification frameworks for climate change adaptation. So yeah, that will be really great.
I'll happily put you in touch with the work package lead. He's a colleague of mine here at the BSc, so I can put you in touch with him, no problem.
Thank you, that is great.
No
Thanks.
worries.
Great, brilliant. So I'm just checking the Slido for other questions. Somebody asked whether we will be sharing the presentation of the seminar. Yes, you will be getting an email with all of the slides and the recording once the event is over. Also a question about NBS ecosystems being represented in the thematic working groups. So if you can check in the Zoom, Jimena has put some information there about the Network Nature Plus task forces. So Network Nature Plus has their own task forces as well, and there's a lot of information in that PDF that Jimena just shared. So I think that would answer that question. Any other questions? Feel free to come in directly if you would like to ask a question or make a comment.
Maybe just to build upon what you just mentioned, Yara, about nature-based solutions and what was presented before. Nature-based solutions, as mentioned, is key for the EU mission adaptation. And since Network Nature Plus already exists, and in order to create synergies and not overlaps, we coordinate with them, and then EU-funded projects that work on MBS and other EU funded MBS projects work on those task force from Network Nature Plus. So we coordinate a lot, and we do a lot of synergy work so that we can all go into the same direction.
Thanks, Jimena, for that explanation. Any other questions about the presentation before we move to the networking part of the event? Okay, so maybe we will move on, and then if anybody has any questions, we can come to them maybe during the breakout rooms. So, okay, this section is going to be a bit more interactive, and we really wanted to give you a chance to talk to each other, basically, especially for new projects, and meet other projects and maybe discuss, how you can collaborate. So we have a few facilitators who I think are all here. We have Marianne, Sarah, Oscar, myself, and Erlen. We'll be facilitating different breakout rooms. So if we can have the next slide, please, and I'll just explain how this is going to go ahead. So we're going to do this for the next kind of 45 minutes. There will be an option for you on the Zoom when we go into the breakout rooms for you to choose a room. So I've put there in the blue squares, or well, hexagons, the different themes. So we've kept them quite broad because we didn't want you to feel constrained, and there's lots of different projects that are funded under this mission, so we hope that there's something for everyone here. You don't have to join a group that is related to your project if you don't want to. You can join one that you are just interested in, up to you. So the 4 general themes are climate resilient cities and infrastructure, enabling conditions for governance, finance and capacity, health, well-being and social resilience, and nature and biodiversity, land use and water resilience. So when we go to that breakout room part of the session, you will be able to choose which one you join. And each of us will be in one of the groups to help you facilitate your discussions. So when you join, we've had a few projects that have volunteered because they are new projects and they wanted to kind of have the floor to introduce themselves. So we'll have a short presentation from a project in the group, and then we will go straight to introductions from all the other projects in the group. Tell us what you're working on, what you're interested in, and kind of what you're going to be doing for the next few years in your projects and what you want to bring to the community of practice. We'll then return to plenary after kind of 40-ish minutes, and we'll be able to share 5-minute group reflection and key takeaways from each of the themes in the breakout rooms. When we're in the breakout rooms, after we've had a chance for you all to present yourselves and talk a bit about your project, we've thought about a few guiding questions which we think might help you find synergies across the projects. So the first one is, what challenges is your project addressing? So here it's more about what your research or your project is trying to solve, address, work towards. So what is the, is it about drought? Is it about adaptation in cities? Is it about governance? What is the challenge that you are trying to address? The second question we think is key, and this is a lot of the work that thematic working groups have been doing as well, is to share tools and strategies. So either ones that you are already developing or tools that you have got plans to develop throughout your project, so that you can see whether other projects are working on similar things and you want to find a connection there. And then a bit of a chat about the community of practice. Again, a chance to ask questions, how it works and what you can get from it. So we will do this for about 40 minutes, and then we will bring you back into the general room. So please have a look on the screen to see which theme you want to join, and then you will have a facilitator in each room kind of guiding you through the next 45 minutes. So I hope you all enjoyed your breakout rooms. I definitely enjoyed mine. We had some really good discussions and lots of meetings across projects already, so that was very, very interesting and nice to meet everybody. So we will now go to some closing remarks before closing the session. So Federico, thank you for joining us, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Yara, Jenny, Ellen, and all the team from Me4Adapt organizing this event. Thank you, projects and experts for being here. I also want to thank the colleagues from CINEA, Frederic, that spoke before, but also the colleagues from the Life Unit from CINEA that also contributed to this event. This is, I think, very important on our side of the European Commission. Today, in fact, was for us an important event to welcome the new projects, that we fund as part of Mission Adaptation, within, of course, the budget allocated from Horizon Europe, but it's also important to welcome the other projects that we don't fund directly, but can have a home in the community of practice of the mission. This is indeed an open community. It was reflected in the presentation. I hope it was also reflected in the discussion with the breakout session, but for us in the commission, it is important to highlight this. It's a place where all the projects from different parts of life, I would say, can come meet and discuss on the adaptation challenge and solution that you will be tested from now on. I said this is a special community because I come from, I'm an official from the Directorate General for Research and Innovation, working as a part of the Mission Secretariat. The Mission Secretariat is a specific animal within the Commission. So we have colleagues from DGRTD, working on research and innovation in Horizon Europe like me. We also have colleagues working on climate actions, meaning adaptation policies from the Directorate General for on climate action at the Commission. Our mission manager is Elina Bardram, director in DG Klima, and she has a double hat. It's an important double hat that I think it's useful also for you to know. On the one hand, she's the mission manager. She shape, control, manage the mission adaptation, including, of course, the rest of the work they will be doing to implement the mission. But at the same time, she is the director responsible for the upcoming proposal of the European Commission for the new European Climate Adaptation Plan, as it was announced by the mission's letter of Commissioner Oekstra, Commissioner for Climate Action. So this brings and puts mission adaptation in a very, in my opinion, interesting place within the nexus between R&I and policy development. And I think this is what I wanted to give you as an input and perhaps as an encouragement for your work now that you start implementing your work plan, or start engaging with the mission adaptation in case you are, for example, a life projects. The work that you will be doing will feed directly the knowledge of mission adaptation, and will feed directly also the discussions at the political level on the development of the plan for climate adaptation from the European Commission. Clearly, for those of you that might be starting, most of you that might be starting the project now, the maturity of the test and solution, the solution you will test it, will arrive sometimes in some years, but still you will be in time to actually feed, for example, the implementation of this ambitious plan that we intend to propose somewhere towards the end of next year, or maybe later, but certainly within this mandate. But also through the joint activities that the Committee of Practice are proposing, and that colleagues actually presented to you in the previous presentation. I'm talking about clearly the input that we ask you to do, for example, when it comes to feeding the mission dashboard of the barometer. It might look like administrative work, but actually for us it's very important, European Commission, but it is the way for us, including of course other feedback to policy elements, to know what you're doing and to actually be able to understand how your solution are actually supporting the discussion we are having in-house on the policy implementation. So I think the projects of mission adaptation are special in a way. I think that you also realize this is the case by hearing the presentation and discussion that you had today, precisely because with the help of the colleagues in CINEA, you are really part of a special team of projects that can actually have direct links with what we do at the policy level. And I think it's very important for R&I to be recognized this way, to be acknowledged as a force for policy development. And the mission is an attempt on our side to do so, and we are very happy that now you're on board. You will contribute to this initiative. At the same time, we were presented to you thematic working groups of the different projects, both funded by the mission, but also relevant for the objective of the mission, life, other parts of Horizon Europe, working together on common outputs. And again, this is another example of an opportunity for you to be active in this community and directly bring your knowledge and your ideas to the attention also of the European Commission and the Mission Secretariat. I think it's a special initiative as well. I'll give you the example of what happened last week. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was last week. Time flies, but it was last week. In Bologna, we had the Mediterranean Forum of Mission Adaptation. It was the moment where different regional local authorities from the Mediterranean region actually came together and discussed common challenges. But there we also had an opportunity for representatives of the mission project to hand over to our mission manager, the director of DG Clima, Elina Bardram, the outputs of the thematic working groups that have been working in the past months and also years. So this was an example of the project actually handing over this, at least metaphorically, of course, these outputs. And we intend to do so, to continue to keep this community engaged, to receive the feedback inputs, even about what is not working, because of course, as a commission, we're always keen to understand how we can improve the work of the community, including what MIFRADAT might be doing better or in a more vertical way to also help you. But indeed, we expect and we hope that you will join on board and really be active in this community in the interest of the mission, of the adaptation as a file and the link with the policy, but also of the visibility of your own project that can be, I think, really multiplied by engaging with the work that the colleagues presented you before. So thanks for being here again. I will now give the floor back to maybe Yara for some more operational next steps. I guess that would be useful on the side of Me4Adapt. And for anything, the Commission, the Mission Secretariat, CINEA, as we mentioned before, my colleague Frederick, and Me4Adapt are here to continue working with you and hearing from you, experts, how the project, the engine of this mission can also support us in the broader policy development and of the adaptation file in Europe in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Federico. Always great to have your perspective as well. So yeah, really good that you could join us for these closing remarks. And on the note of kind of learning from the projects and the experts, as Federico was saying, we're just going to do a quick feedback survey before we close the session. So Jenny, if we could please have the feedback survey slide. They are just 3 quick questions, and we really value this because it helps us understand what kind of events and what kind of networking is useful to you as projects. So if one of my colleagues could put the link in the Zoom, please, and you can also use the QR if you have your phone to hand. And then I think, Jenny, would you like to share the questions, or just we can leave this slide up and people can have a few minutes to answer via the Slido? Yeah, brilliant. So the link is in the chat, so please could you follow the link that Sarah has just pasted and just quickly give us your feedback on whether you found this event useful. As we mentioned at the start, the purpose of this is because we have lots of new projects starting soon or over the next few months. So we're keen to understand if this is helpful, and any feedback on future sessions and, you know, networking, whether you like the breakout rooms, etc., because we redesigned these sessions so that they're useful for the project. So if you could all take a couple of minutes and then we'll close the session. Thank you. Okay, so we're getting some responses about the event. So great. I mean, so far, positive responses. And as I mentioned as well earlier, we will be sending the slides and the recording if anything is unclear, and a contact point as well from Me4Adapt if you do have questions after the event. There is a lot of information presented, I know. So we'll just give you a couple more minutes and then we will move to the second question. Maybe we can have the next question, Jenny, please. This one is most interesting to us as well because we often change the dynamic of the breakout rooms, but we think it's a good chance for projects to meet and be able to discuss things thematically. So please let us know as well if you think that works, or if you have any suggestions for a different way to do it. We're happy to hear that feedback as well. Obviously, this is all collected anonymously. Great. Okay, brilliant. So overall useful. And then the last question is more of an open response to provide us with any additional feedback, any keywords, any messages you want to share about whether you thought this worked well, or you have any ideas for a different session. If we could have the next one, please, Jenny. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so we have useful to interconnect between projects. Great. It would be useful if the agenda was shared in advance. Okay, yeah, we did intentionally keep that a bit open because we didn't want to burden people with asking you to prepare more slides and give you more work, basically. So we thought we would keep it a bit fluid, and in each breakout room, you could kind of verbally participate unless there were specific projects that were new or life projects which we wanted to kind of highlight. But in general, we try and not give people too much work in advance, which is why we don't normally share in advance, but we will keep that that comment and that feedback on board. Thank you. Great. Okay. We will be sharing the URLs. We'll be sharing all of this in the reports that we put together after these events, and anything that's been asked in the Slido will be included in that as well. and that will be sent by email and available on Futurium with the recording. Okay, great. Great, someone really wants to join the community. That's brilliant. Okay, great. Well, I think we can probably go back to plenary. And just, yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for your comments. We'll be reading through them and taking them on board for the next session. So, okay, so closing remarks from me. And as I mentioned, these things as well, they will be added to the Zoom, so please click through. But the recording, the presentation, and a summary report of the event will be shared via the Futurium online community, and it will be sent by email. So in the summary report, we will be putting some of these links as well that we've been mentioning in the chat. And also we will probably make a section where we mention which project presented in each breakout room so that you can also follow up with those projects if you're interested. Please register for the online EU Mission Adaptation community so that you can access all of these resources that we've just mentioned, as well as all the outputs from the thematic working groups I mentioned earlier, so the policy briefs, etc. Complete the mission project survey if you want to join in your new mission project. And upcoming events. So as Jimena mentioned at the start, some of the events that we do are more like this one to introduce projects and facilitate networking, as some of them are very thematic, where we invite researchers, practitioners, regional authorities, municipalities to present specific findings on topics. So we have one on the 2nd of July, which is about adapting transport infrastructure. And then we have one on the 10th of July, which is adapting energy infrastructure. So we've had different themes this year. We've had some in May and June as well to do with sustainable agriculture, and those recordings are also available if you want to go back and look at those. And then we have the 3rd Synergy workshop for mission projects, which we really encourage you all to join on the 23rd of September. And then we have another kind of thematic session, engaging the private and insurance sectors to invest in climate adaptation projects at the end of September. And I know at least in my breakout room, there are a few people who are working on private sector, insurance, banking, so that might be of interest to you. And yeah, the community of practice and anything else mentioned are all on Futurium. Make sure you have access. And I will put my email in the chat now for any questions about the thematic working groups specifically, because I'm kind of overseeing all of the different groups. So if you have any questions about joining or you have problems, then please do send me an email. And I think that is all from us. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining, and we hope this was useful for you. As I mentioned, you'll be sent information in an email if you've registered so that you can follow up and have a look at the summary report. So yeah, thanks everyone, have a good day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.